Good afternoon. This is Sarah Collins, and I'm the Employee Wellbeing Program Manager for Brigham Women's Hospital and part of the Office of Employee Engagement and Wellbeing. I'm so thrilled that Harvard University Employee Credit Union has offered to do these presentations, and I'm so glad you could join us today. So I'm going to welcome Sarah Scruggs and Migdalia Gomez as your presenters today. Thank you, and again, enjoy.
Thank you, Sarah Collins, and thank you everyone for joining us on this Friday. As Sarah Collins mentioned, my name is Migdalia Gomez, and I'm joined by Sarah Scruggs. I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview as to what we're going to cover today and how we're going to cover it. I'm going to go through the first part of today's presentation, and then I will turn it over to Sarah Scruggs, who will provide additional information. And if you have any BWH specific questions, you can let us know, and Sarah Collins is on the call and can be able to answer questions. We have gone ahead and muted everyone to make it a little bit easier, but as always, we want to continue to make sure that we're addressing any questions that you have, or if there's anything that we can clarify, we want to make sure we do so. So we are asking you to use the questions panel that will allow us to see your questions and address them. And we will keep those anonymous, so we won't necessarily state who asked the question. To make sure that the questions panel is easy to find and that you can hear us, please let us know where are you joining us from today. Again, that questions panel is how you would let us know where are you joining us from today. That panel may be on the top navigation or the right hand. Ultimately, it will depend on which platform how you logged on. It may appear a little bit different on some browsers and then on mobile and tablets. Oh, wonderful. I see some folks that have started submitting. See someone from Spalding Rehab. Thank you for joining. Mass General Brigham, thank you. BWH, wonderful. Thank you so much. So the way that you let us know that you were where you're joining us from is the same way you'll be able to submit questions throughout today's presentation. And do not worry, we know that we'll have a lot of different information here, and sometimes, I don't know about you, but I may forget something. So what we'd like to do is email the presentation afterwards so that you don't feel that you have to memorize everything. We will also make the video recording available, and they're both going to be on our BWH page, which is the same way that you've registered, and we'll also share that link with you shortly. For those that may not be familiar with us, we are Harvard's not-for-profit financial institution. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we're a bank, but we like to think that we bank better, and we're able to do that because of the fact that we were created by Harvard employees for the Harvard community. And as such, we're able to reduce rates on loans, increase rates on savings, and we're able to address our community's needs because we are members of our community. Our board of directors are members, and those that are part of the credit union are able to enjoy many different benefits, including personal finance education. This is, as I mentioned, one of a couple of different presentations that we've done with BWH. And here's the page where you'll be able to see the slides and also register for upcoming presentations or view prior webinars that have been recorded or view just the slides if that is your preference. We will be posting additional series here. So in the next couple of weeks or months, as we continue to provide more education, this will be the page that will house all of them. So now we're going to get into our topic today. We have about 30 minutes to cover a good amount of information. But do not feel rushed. Do not feel bad if you think of a question later. You will get that email from me. It'll have my contact information, and you're more than welcome to email me if there's anything that you think about in the future. These are the 5 steps that we're going to discuss as to what to do with your money now amidst COVID-19. I'm going to go through the first 3, and then Sarah Scruggs will talk to us about the last 2. The first goal or first step is really to identify what are your current financial goals. For most individuals, the past couple of months may have had an impact on income, in addition to health, whether that's physical or mental well-being. So we're thinking for our goals specifically, what are those possibly new financial goals that you had? Perhaps you were thinking prior I'm going to purchase a home by the end of this year, but there may have been a change in income and that may not be as doable, or you may have to push that forward. There may be other goals that also may have been impacted. So before you decide what the next steps are, we need to know what are you trying to do with your finances in the next couple of months. I would recommend setting up a financial goal through the end of the year and then also for 2021 as well. And as things progress, we will obviously need to continue to reevaluate. We are today in a place that we didn't know we were going to be 3 or 4 months ago, and that causes us to have to readjust our financial goals. The next step is to take a financial or do a financial health checkup. Take your financial stats. What exactly do those mean? Well, the first one is reviewing your budget. For some individuals, you may have received either additional income or reduced income depending on your employment status in the past couple of months. And for those that may have been receiving unemployment, that may be changing in the next couple of weeks. So there are adjustments to income that are most likely impacting a good amount of individuals. As we're speaking today, Sarah and I are speaking about entire household. We just won't continuously say that, but we understand that it may not be your budget specifically or your income specifically that may have changed. It may be your partners, yours, or someone else within that household that you may be providing financial support for. Then take another look at your emergency savings. We typically recommend having 3 to 6 months of expenses, but we realize that most times that's a pretty big number for most of us. And if you did have a significant amount or any amount in emergency savings and had to utilize it, you may now be slightly depleted on your emergency savings. So we're going to go back to our financial goals and think, if your emergency savings have been depleted, perhaps one of your financial goals for the next couple of months would be to try to increase that emergency savings. Because again, we don't quite know what the next couple of months are going to look like. There sort of really depends on who you speak to. There are individuals that are thinking that the economy will get better sooner, or there are some that think the impact may last through 2022. The reality is we just don't quite know. Credit scores and credit report is going to be a big piece of most of our finances. For individuals that had loans that perhaps they skipped a payment or they had a payment scheduled to not be due. So not that you did not pay it and it was delinquent, but maybe you had an agreement with that institution to not pay that July bill or June bill and push it forward a couple of months. That may impact your credit score. It should not, but it may. If you are scheduled to skip a payment on an outstanding loan, that lender will report that payment as being made because technically for that month, your payment is of 0. However, mistakes may happen and that could accidentally be reported incorrectly. So it is important to check your credit report. That credit score will not be free, but you can get that credit report for free. And as one of the changes that annualcreditreport.com did with COVID-19 is that they're making credit reports available for free once a week per each of the credit bureaus. And Sarah Scruggs will share with you that link, which is annualcreditreport.com. It does not cost you anything. There's no fee for pulling that credit report. There's no negative impact on your credit score. And you can pull one or all 3 of your credit reports for free weekly. The credit score, as I mentioned, isn't provided for free, but you can get that through most of your financial institutions. Another piece of financial health to think about, and I would say especially if you have dependents, whether that is that you are a parent or you're taking care of others in your household, you want to take a look at estate planning. And I'll talk more in the next slide, sort of whom to talk to. Not everyone is accredited or has the proper credentials essentially to speak on these topics. So I'm speaking very general. But if you do have dependents, it is a good idea to take a look at updating perhaps wills, looking at beneficiaries, especially this is something that unfortunately we've heard of and sometimes we've seen, individuals may forget to update their beneficiaries when there are significant changes in their household, whether that's a divorce, whether that is individuals remarrying, or whether someone has passed away that was previously listed as a beneficiary. In addition to estate planning, we also recommend that you consider insurance planning, or essentially risk planning. There are many different insurance companies that have now reduced insurance costs, especially for car insurance, because less people are driving. Additionally, if you haven't taken a look at your home insurance in a couple of months, this may be something to take a look at as well, because the costs have shifted with some insurance providers. So this could be an opportunity for you to save some funds. And as we're talking today about sort of what to do now with your money and all these different pieces, some of these are things that typically we should be doing on a regular basis. But the reason that we put them on today's presentation is the fact that there have been changes that have happened in certain industries that will now be impacting these. And Sarah Scruggs will talk a lot about that in her section as to some new discounts that may be available. And speaking of sort of new discounts or new numbers, interest rates. A lot of interest rates have dropped, and that is specifically for savings accounts and also for loans. So if you have any outstanding debt, whether that's a mortgage, whether that is a car loan, student loans, not so much for federal student loans. Federal student loans are at 0% right now, so I wouldn't recommend refinancing those. But private student loans or any other debt, especially credit card debts as well, you would want to look at what interest rates may be available to you now. And this is something that a couple of weeks ago may not have been a priority, because understandably, especially working in healthcare, which we thank you for, you may have had other priorities, may not have had the time to look into refinancing, and we don't know how long these rates are going to be as low as they currently are. So I would highly recommend looking into this, especially in the next couple of weeks. And tax planning, as part of the CARES Act, there were changes to general tax laws, including if you or someone in your household had to take out RMD, or required minimum distributions from retirement accounts, including some changes to charitable giving, amongst other things. So if you're in an individual that usually has, someone else do their taxes, or may have a very specific tax situation, I encourage you to take a look to see what possible changes may impact your taxes for the next, for 2020, when you file in 2021. As part of that, I would also recommend thinking about retirement accounts. I realize that individuals are of different ages that are on this webinar and different incomes, and I'm not a retirement accountant professional, so I cannot get into details, but I would recommend, if your income has shifted significantly for this year, for 2020, you may want to speak with the retirement or tax professional to see if it would make sense for you to convert money in a traditional retirement account into a Roth, if there is an anticipation that you may be at a lower tax bracket. But of course, with that does mean that you would have to pay more taxes up front because of that conversion. I can't get into details, but the recommendation is, if your income, again, or someone in your household is highly impacted and will be significantly lower this year, that may be something that you look into. So I keep saying that there are things I can talk about and things I can't. So I'll talk to us now about empowering yourselves with education. A lot of what we are covering today, some of it may be applicable, some may not be. So as you're going through today's presentation and hearing things, I encourage you to take the next steps and go straight to the source. So that example that I gave of converting a traditional retirement account into a Roth. If you're wondering, what exactly does she mean? Before I contact someone, let me learn a little bit more. I would go straight to the IRS website. The IRS website is the source of retirement information. That is where tax code lives. And that is really where you should go as a starting spot. They do have all the tax laws, but if you don't want to get into that level, they have a consumer-facing section of the website that is very user-friendly and provides a lot of good information. Investor.gov if you want to learn a little bit more about just general investing and have questions. And the St. Louis Federal Reserve has a great section on pretty much anything else related to money. It's a good place that we go to often, and we encourage you to visit as well. And as anything in life, we tend to have preferences. So if you're an individual that prefers webinars over courses or reading content online, then go to a trusted individual or a trusted source that will have that information in the format that you want to receive it. We don't, learning anything can be a little bit challenging, but we don't want to create friction by making it harder for ourselves by learning through a platform that we're not interested in. So find what you're interested in, then go to a trusted source and get additional information. For those that enjoy blogs, you can learn more on our website. We have a blog, and we are currently having about 3 or so articles a week. We're working really hard to get you new content because we know a lot is changing during these times. You can subscribe if you want to receive these blogs weekly, or again, search for another blog, check your primary financial institutions. We also have the workshop page. This is additional workshops outside of the ones that we do for BWH, but you're welcome to check these out. We have our recorded webinars and on-demand ones as well. So I've talked about this a little bit in pieces, but I wanted to just make sure I put this on a slide and gave it the necessary attention that it requires. When you're going through, and if anything that I spoke about is something that you're interested in looking into, so maybe it's about the taxes, or maybe it's about some of the benefits that Sarah Scruggs will talk about shortly, we recommend that you go to trusted sources and that you understand what are their credentials. Are they fiduciaries? Meaning that by law, they have to do what's in your best interest, even if that's not going to provide them a higher commission. And are they commission driven? And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it may impact some individuals' recommendations. It may be a little daunting to start this process, especially if you're newer to it or if you're not quite sure where to start. I would recommend starting with your primary financial institution and seeing what do they offer. There are many financial institutions that may offer free financial advice or counseling or advisors, depending on the size of that institution. For most of us, our employer will provide retirement plan, and through that retirement plan, we can get financial information regarding retirement from certified retirement counselors or advisors. I always recommend start with your immediate circle, see who has that expertise, and then build from there as needed. One of the options that's available to you, and they are accredited credit counselors and accredited financial counselors, is Green Path Financial Wellness. This is something that is available for free to all those in the Harvard community, including all of you at BWH. Because at HUECU we believe strongly in personal finance, we make this available to everyone. I know that I went through a good amount of information, and I'm going to turn it over to Sarah Scruggs, who will then share some additional information. And if you have questions, feel free to submit them via the chat.
Thank you, Migdalia. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Scruggs. I am the Community Engagement Specialist at the Harvard University Employees Credit Union, and I'm going to talk a little bit about using your benefits. And these benefits not only belong to you, but probably anyone in your household as well. So maybe your spouse or partner works somewhere else and they have different benefits that they bring along with themselves as well. So just to go through kind of a list to get your mind going of some things to check on. Employer benefits. What does your employer offer you? And I do want to say that Sarah Collins will be on after in just a little bit to talk about BWH specifically, but just some that have come to mind for us is going to be through the EAP. Partners provides that as a free service to all Partners Healthcare employees. There's webinars that are happening through your employer constantly, as well as any discounts that your employer may offer. At Harvard, I know that we have opportunities to a lot of different discount programs. So check in on those things. Financial institutions. What is your primary financial institution doing for you during this time? A lot of financial institutions offer free credit monitoring, and during this time, a lot have lowered their interest rates on loans, and especially with personal loans. So if you're at a point where you're needing to look for additional cash flow, then maybe a personal loan is right for you. So see what offers come from your financial institution as well. Your health insurance offers some discounts, some perks along with it. I know my health insurance offers money back on a gym membership, as do a lot of health insurance. So during this time, they decided, since we can't go to the gym, they're now offering $150 back on gym equipment that you can buy for your home. And so they have been working creatively to make sure that those discounts and perks still apply, even in this time of social distancing. Credit cards. I know for myself, sometimes I forget about the points that my credit card acquires during the time that I'm spending all of that money. And so look for those perks and discounts that come with your credit card. Some credit cards offer discounts on things like DoorDash or Spotify. They may come with your credit card's annual fee or something of that nature. So look into that. Make sure that you know those things. And one thing that I will say, I have a travel credit card where I get points towards airlines and things of that nature. And during this time, they've actually switched over to letting those points be accessible to other things so that now I can use them on gift cards as well as I think Spotify and Hulu. So that is nice to know that they're innovating as well. Maybe it's your alma mater. If you've been to school and graduated, there are a lot of times insurance discounts that can come from your school or college, as well as entertainment options. Maybe they have a lot of live things going on online that you can sign into with your alumni email or something of that nature. Also, watch out for lectures. There may be lectures in the business school about personal financial education that you want to learn more about, and they offer them to alumni as well. And then phone carriers are the last ones that I'll talk about. We know about Sprint perks, T-Mobile Tuesdays, and sometimes your phone carrier will have discounts for, I know Verizon, if you have unlimited data, they're giving you a free year of Disney Plus. And then Hulu is offered on some phone carriers as well. So look into it. See what perks and discounts you may already have that you're just not taking advantage of just yet. And then we need to take the next steps. It's great. You've taken the first step and come to a financial wellness workshop, but now we need to take steps in our own lives to make sure that these things go into effect. So the first thing that we want you to do is write down dates on the calendar to get things done. I don't know if you're anything like me. I have a planner at all times, and I get to tick off the little boxes next to the things that I've done. And so for myself, that gives me a sense of, okay, what is coming up? What do I need to work on? And your financial goals should be part of that. So maybe it's you want to start comparing savings accounts, or you want to start asking questions to your financial planner about IRAs and things of that nature. So write down those dates. Don't let them just be a thought to have in your mind, but put them down on the calendar. Start having family conversations about these things. You probably have learned a lot today. It's good to go and take this back to the people who are making these decisions alongside you. So be sure to think through that and start having those conversations now. And then the last step is take action. Sometimes not making a decision because there's too many decisions to make is making a decision. So you need to make sure you're taking action on these things, whether it be a simple action like putting it down on your calendar and keeping yourself to that, or maybe it's a simple action of looking up what perks you get from your employer. Doing those things today or this weekend is a great way to start. This is a great worksheet that we have here at the credit union where you can learn to create your own money strategy. So you're taking those financial goals and putting them into actionable steps and items. Magdalia just put into the chat where you can go to find this worksheet, as well as many other worksheets. Let's say maybe a goal is saving a down payment for a house. You can find information on our hub for that as well. And at the end of the day, we want you to know that the credit union is here for you. We are here to help in whatever way we can, be there for you, provide services. So if there's anything that we can do for you, please let us know.